Hello, and welcome. Welcome to the Worcester City Schools Wellness Initiative Yoga for Wednesday, December 16th. I'm Joy, and we'll be getting started in about 7 or 8 minutes. So take time getting settled in and settle down. Hi guys, welcome as you're joining in. I hope you're getting comfortable. We'll get started in about 3 more minutes. And just grab whatever props you like to use for the practice or whatever sounds good for tonight. You never know when a blanket or a pillow might feel just really supportive, especially at the end of the practice. I'm all about using whatever's around these days since we're at home and making the most of our resources. So grab whatever you would like and we'll get started in a few minutes. Okay, welcome. Thank you for being here, and hope that you're having a good day so far. And I'm excited to share the next hour with you, just to move in a way that feels really natural for you. So I can't see you, so just make it feel good. I'll make suggestions all along the way, but this practice is about you and connecting with yourself. So whatever that means for you, go into that space mentally, physically, and serve yourself tonight. Okay, let's get started standing up in mountain pose at the top of the mat. So we'll start standing at the ready, palms forward to receive. Just these initial messages coming through. Right off the bat, it might seem like a flood of information, or it might be hard to tease out the exact messages that are most important. But as we work through the practice, that is the process. As we move different parts of the body, as we shift into different shapes, everything gets compartmentalized and organized very organically. Some things fall away. Some things move forward in the priority line. Our job isn't to find the place for those things in the yoga practice. It's to allow the yoga practice to sift and sort, to just move through that process and see how things shake out. That's all we ask. So standing tall, feeling your feet firm into the floor and feeling your head reach up into the sky. Take a big breath in. Slowly let that breath out. Again, with an inhale, expand your whole body. And with your exhale, come back to your center. One more time. Take a breath that nourishes you. Slowly empty it out. Inhale and reach the arms up overhead. Upward salute to the sky, full stretch to the body. And as you exhale, hinge at your hips, bend at your knees, and swan dive forward into a fold. Be gentle, especially in these first couple of folds. Take a halfway lift as you breathe in again and lengthen your spine out. Find space between the vertebrae. Exhale and fold forward once again. See if you can place the belly on the thighs and let the head dangle. Come all the way up to stand, so peel up away from your thighs, flat back, reverse that swan dive. And reach up to the sky, tailbone anchors heavily down. Exhale your hands to heart center. We're gonna connect those half sun salutations and just get into a meditative flow. Here we go. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, lead with your heart, dive down. Inhale, shine the heart forward. Exhale, bow humbly. Flat back, peel away from the thighs, reach the arms out wide and let the chest lift. Right back down into your fold, connect the sequence. Halfway lift, neck long. Forward fold, release the tension. Reverse swan dive, make your core solid. Reach up to the sky, side body long, inner body bright. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, feel the lift of the heart, feel the lift of the belly. And exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the sides. Stretch tall, let the back body reach. And keep going like this, just a couple more rounds. See if you can find yourself in the center of the movement. The body just moving around the consciousness, around the ebb and flow of the breath. Like your body is being held in the breath and being rocked by the movement. We'll come to Tadasana Mountain Pose. After you finish that round, just allow the arms to drop down by your sides. Come back to where we began and feel that distance that you've traveled already. With your next inhale, reach your arms alongside the ears. As you inhale, breathe and reach up, stretch up. And as you exhale, dive forward, fold. Come into a little halfway lift, pull the belly up. And then plant the hands down, step your right leg back into a lunge. Keep that back leg buoyant. Firm down through your feet and curl the chest up. Let's take a breath or two in this lunge position, trying to draw the outer left hip back. Lifting the front of the right thigh and hip up. And then we'll plant the palms down on the ground, sweep the left leg all the way up and back behind you in a downward facing dog with the left leg lifted, and then roll the left hip on top of the right, bend the knee. So you're opening and lengthening the front of the left quadriceps. At the same time, push the right heel down into the floor. You'll feel those right calf muscles. And see if you can keep your chest mostly square, so equal distribution of weight between both arms. Spread through the upper back. Point the left knee up toward the ceiling and reach actively through that thigh bone. Inhale, straighten the left leg and square off the hips. So roll the outer left hip down, 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 down in line with the right. And then lower the left leg down, downward facing dog. And take a breath. 2 hands, 2 feet, firmly rooting. Energy peaking up in the pelvis. And then slide forward into plank, shoulders over your wrists, grip through your fingertips. And see if you can get a little bit lighter in the heels of your hands so you're a little more active around the wrist joints. Take a breath there. And then rock forward just a bit more to lower down. And if you can do those chaturanga arms, elbows slide by the side ribs as you lower flat to the mat. Let's take a cobra pose. Point the toes back behind you, peel the chest up. Lengthen through the spine as you lift the heart. And exhale, release back down. Slide your right forearm in front of your chest so that you're propped up like Sphinx pose a little bit. The chest is lifted and there's weight in that right forearm. The left forearm is going to go back by your side. Left knee bends and reach for the left foot or ankle. And see if you can pull the heel down toward the back of your left hip. So again, we're finding length in the front of the left quad. So I've got my fingertips pointing back now, down toward my shin and my elbow up toward the sky. And then I'm rolling the left side of my chest forward and drawing my right shoulder head back. That feels good in my alignment and my shoulder girdle, but adjust if you need to. To go a little bit deeper and get a little more leverage on that foot, you can start to spin the fingertips out toward the side edge of your mat and then toward your body, toward your back body. And elbows still pointing up toward the ceiling. Give a little more pressure to the tops of the toes or the top of that foot, but also kick the foot into the hand and you'll feel the quads light up. Good. Gently release without a fling. Left leg goes back behind you and palms plant alongside the chest underneath your shoulders. So we'll start to lift and lengthen that left leg back behind so it's not laying down on the ground. But the lift comes from the glutes and the low back. So we're really plugging into core and lifting that leg. Draw your belly button up and in at the same time. Right knee will stay down on the mat. Let's push up away from the floor and extend the left leg back like three-leg table. My hands are a bit in front of my shoulders, and that'll be advantageous in this push-up position that we're going to do. So you can come forward into more of a kneeling plank, and then chaturanga, lower down. Maybe you go deep and push back up and shift the hips back over the right knee. This can also be much smaller, just a little bend in the elbows, working toward those chaturanga arms, and then sliding the hips back over the right knee. So feel that shift forward, the bend of the elbows back by the side ribs, the lift of the belly, push up and slide back. Here we go, forward, lower, press, slide back. Two more, forward, lower, lift, slide back. Keep the belly toned forward. Front hip points drawing up toward your ribs. And back. Good. From here, let's step the left foot outside of the left hand and tuck the back toes under. So we've got a wider stance in the feet for a lizard lunge. And right away, think about the spine, lengthen the heart forward, just like we did in our initial lunge. And then let's rock the hips forward and back. So firming down through your feet, let the hips tent up. And as you do this, front knee will naturally straighten. So zipper up through the back of that leg, through the sits bone. And then take the sits bone down toward the front heel. So we lead from the hips up and back, and lead from the hips forward. One more. Good. Right leg's gonna hop forward outside of the right hand for Malasana. Step right into that wide stance so that you can drop the hips toward the heels. Snuggle the elbows to the insides of the knees and lift the chest. Maybe the eyes close or the gaze softens and fixes at one point. Start to melt the chest forward. Hands to the floor. We'll lift the hips and spin the toes straight toward the top of the mat. But you can keep the feet hips width are a little bit wider apart and dangle like a rag doll over the legs. Maybe sway the body, shift the weight side to side. Then center your torso over your hips and start to roll your spine up slowly, slowly. Until you come back up. Open the chest, open the collarbones, and heel toe the feet underneath you. Firmly plant into the sole of the right foot and bring the left foot into tree pose. So externally rotate from the femur bone. Point the left knee out to the side, firm the outer right hip in. Start with the hands where it feels natural. And again, see if you can move to the center of the pose. Move to the pure consciousness of it, of being here. And let the action accumulate around that. Any variation you'd like to take with the arms is welcome. Any challenge to the balance is also welcome. Closing the eyes or tilting the gaze upward. I heard someone say last week, it's good to purposely throw yourself off balance sometimes. Some practices are designed for that. Because then we get to catch ourselves recalibrating and exhibiting strength and showing our resilience. That stuff only comes up when we're thrown off course. Release the variation of the arms. If you found one, bring the hands back to heart center. Final breath. And then we'll wrap that left knee forward and step the left foot down next to the right. Mountain pose, palms turned forward. Receive what is here, what is present now. And we rise. Inhale, arms lift up. Exhale and take that dive forward. Fingertips to floor, to shins. Inhale, halfway lift. Support yourself on your fingertips. Step your left leg back to a lunge. Again, back leg lifted, back leg buoyant. And it might take some of that pressure out of the hips for you to pitch the hips up a little bit higher. And then start to broaden the sits bones apart behind you. And if you want to move deeper into the lunge after setting up those actions, then take the tailbone and start to lengthen it down towards your front heel. All the while, spine stays long, heart stays lifted and open. Palms plant down. Take the right leg up and back, three-leg dog. Sweep it up behind you. Push your left heel down into the floor. And then start to tip the hips open. So right hip starts to roll atop the left. Right knee bends. The heel comes toward the back body. And then it's active, right? We want to open the front of the left quads today. Or the right quad here. So point the right knee up toward the ceiling. And see if you can lengthen the right thigh bone
Up, 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 as though you could extend beyond the kneecap. Press into the right hand. Lengthen through the left side waist at the same time, so that'll help you find some balance too, across the two arms. Good. Let's straighten that right leg now and square off the hips. So take your time dialing the right hip down in line with the left. Pause there with that right leg lifted. Last inhale. And as you exhale, set the right foot down, hips width apart from the left foot, downward facing dog. Nice smooth landing. Feel the hands and the feet press into the floor. Feel the arms and the legs lengthen. Draw the back and the belly up together to the peak of the hips. And then slide forward, plank position. Rock a little bit more forward toward the fingertips and lower all the way down to the mat. Cobra pose, extend long through the legs back behind you as you lift the heart, not just up, but forward, like it's on a string being pulled forward. And lower back down. Left forearm comes across the front of the body this time so that you're propped up and supported in a little bit of that back bend, a little bit of Sphinx pose. Right arm back alongside the body, right knee bends for Ardha Bhakasana, half frog. And so we'll grab that foot and just like a quad stretch when you're standing, that old traditional quad stretch, pull the heel toward the glutes. But then find other ways to activate it. I find that sometimes that stretch can kind of be, I don't know, not so useful. But if we kick the foot, spread the toes, you can feel the muscles in the quads activate and contract. And when we do, that contraction and the extension at the same time, that stretch becomes more meaningful. More productive. Again, if you want to turn the fingertips out to the side and then curl them over the toes, you might find a little more leverage. Make sure your right knee is pointing toward the back of the mat, not out to the side. And then without flinging, we'll gently release that right leg back. So start by just hovering that right foot as you reposition the hands alongside the chest. Squeeze the elbows in, forearms in by the sides, and then start to reach that right leg up and back. Kind of like a locust pose where you're activating all the way up through the hamstrings, all the way up through the glutes. But then imagine that connection up through the sides of the waist as well. We're gonna push up onto the left knee, move through a tabletop position so the hips slide back over the left knee this time. Hands stay planted forward of the shoulders. And then you slide forward again. So shoulders line up over the wrists. You're kind of peeking over your fingertips. Bend the elbows like chaturanga, lower down. And push up. Slide back to table. Slide forward. Pull the navel in, lower down. Push up. Slide back. So that back leg stays really strong, and that's going to help you maintain the integrity of the core, maintain the balance between the two shoulders. Feel the warmth in the right leg. Again, these push-ups can just be very small, just maybe a little inch. And press. Let's do one more. Good. And let's step right foot outside of the right hand. And we'll tuck the back toes under, coming into our lizard lunge. So lift the hips enough that the spine doesn't have to round or hunch, right? To pick the hips up so we have that nice levelness, evenness across the lower back, and then the rest of the spine can ripple out long. And as you're ready, again, lead from the back seam of this right leg. So rather than just working through the knee, you're driving the right sits bone up and back, and then extending the right sits bone forward toward the right heel. One more. Okay, put a little bend in that left knee. Get ready to push off the left toes. Malasana at the front of your mat. Situate the feet and then drop the hips down toward the backs of the heels. And lift up through the spine, up through the back body. Think of all the areas of the body that you can receive messages. Personal, internal messages, messages from outside the body. We don't just listen with our ears. We don't just feel with our hands. This yoga practice really allows us to hone and enhance that sense of listening and receiving. Hands to the floor. Let's take a bow forward. Make sure you spin the toes forward as you fold into ragdoll. A bend in the knees is always welcome in the forward fold. And if you want to make this more active this time around, maybe grab for the backs of the calves. Give yourself a big bear hug to the thighs. Release the arms if they're bound. Start to roll the spine up. Drop the tailbone down and ripple up low back, middle back, upper back, shoulders, down your back, palms turn forward. And then heel toe those feet underneath you. And let's take the right leg and make that our tree leg. Sole of the right foot lands to the left inner calf thigh. And maybe intentionally throw yourself off balance. Throw yourself for a loop. See what happens. Maybe you'll end up congratulating yourself for finding a new way to bounce back. Maybe you'll find some new boundaries. Let's point the right knee forward. Bring the hands down to your heart and send the right foot to the floor. Plug it in so that you can stand tall through both legs. Take a deep breath. Let's inhale and take the arms up by the ears again. And exhale, fold. So like a halfway lift, make a shelf with your back, and a block might be handy here underneath the right hand. But crawl the fingertips enough forward that you're really drawing the chest forward. You're not folding in, really lengthening out. And sweep the left leg up and back behind you. Let's move into Ardha Chandrasana. So right hand stays down, and just like we did in three-leg dog, start to roll the left hip on top of the right. And that left arm can start to lift. And we stack the shoulders. Keep the gaze down so that you've got something to lock into, at least while you get steady. And if you feel really steady and you feel really good and you want to go out on that limb and you just want to venture out there, then take your gaze up. But I'm also going to offer that we bend the left knee and reach back with the left hand for that ankle or foot, similar to what we did on the floor. But we're going to stay stacked here, left side body on top of the right. You'll pull the left heel toward the left hip, but at the same time, actively kick back. So we're purposely creating tension between the arm and the leg. And what happens then is that reverberates as energy up into the heart. We explore that heart opening, the lung opening, a sense of expansion in the body. Then gently release that left leg. Again, no flinging. Reach out into that half moon pose, stretch. Start to bend your right knee so you get low to the ground and step your left foot to the back of the mat. Land in warrior two. Right arm is going to sweep down in front of the body. And then reach it back so you're floating in reverse warrior. But you're tilted to the side here. So instead of the back bend, we're really opening right side ribs. Stretch out through the right arm. And then take that right arm out in front of you like warrior two again. Bend into your back leg. Straighten your front leg, hands to your heart, Skandasana. Scoop your inner thighs up and back. At the same time, dig deep down into your heels. Turn toward the front of the mat, low lunge. Plant your palms on either side of your front foot. And sweep the right leg up and back, three-leg dog, just as we did before. Now roll the hips open, right hip on top of the left, bend the knee. We'll kick the right leg through, so straighten and square the hips and look underneath your left arm. Kick it all the way out under that left arm or slide it out on the floor and sit down in a V shape toward the back corner of your mat. Take your left arm, sweep it across your legs, glide through center, and then plant your left hand behind your hips. Maybe lift your hips up, rock star. Drop the hips back down, take your right arm, sweep it from the left leg through center all the way over to the front of the mat, plant the palms. Curl your back toes under, lift your right leg up and back, three-leg dog. One more time, roll that hip open, bend the knee and stretch it out. And then straighten the leg, square off the foot. Look forward in between your hands. Big step with the right leg. Right foot goes all the way up to the hands. Help it get there if you need to. We're in that long stride lunge where the back leg is lifted. Start to crawl your hands forward. Lever the weight onto your front leg. Back leg lifts up like a supported warrior three. Now, pull your outer right hip toward the back of your mat. Even use your hand and pull that back so it kind of swings back in line with the right leg. It's not popping off to the side. Soft bend in the right knee. Bend your left leg and reach back and see if you can find that left foot. And I kind of had to bend in my waist to get there. So now I'm going to reach through the right side of my waist, pull my heart forward as I hold that bind with the foot and kick back. Energy extending forward through the heart, back through the left knee. Good. Without flinging, stretch the left leg back and the right arm forward. See if you can pause in that balance for a moment. And then go ahead and bring the right hand down, left foot down. Bend both knees right away. Drop the weight back into your heels. Arms come up by your ears, chair pose. So no dip in the low back here. Really anchor the tailbone down, because as we do this arm movement that's coming up next, you'll naturally probably want to pitch forward. So really try to pull the belly button in and keep it there. Stay in your chair. Circle the palms, take them out wide, and circle your arms back behind you. Interlace your fingers and lift your chest up as you stretch your arms back. Drop your tailbone down. Sit a little bit deeper, breathe in. And then keep the bind of the arms and put the belly on the thighs, forward fold. Straighten the legs any amount that you like. Work the arms. Work the arms longer. Press the palms together more firmly. Squeeze all the muscles of the fingers so you light up the circulation around those joints. We're going to keep the lace of the hands as we come back to chair pose. So drop the hips down, lift the chest up, and reach the arms back. Tailbone heavy again. Make sure the knees aren't jutting forward. And then we'll release the hands, but we're going to reverse that circle. So we're going to go back, start to turn the palms in, reach the arms up, and come to stand from there. Urdhva Hastasana, stretch to the sky. And exhale, release to your mountain pose. Pause to receive. Just make sure you're always listening. There's no shortage of information coming in from the outside. We know that we're bombarded constantly with news and ads and sales and agendas, all kinds of things flying our way. And because of that, we might get a little closed off to being receptive. We might put a guard up and not hear the messages that are being transferred around our own bodies. Maybe. Next inhale, let's reach the arms up by the ears. And with the exhale, spill forward. Inhale, halfway lift and curl your fingertips out in front of you. Again, block or even a chair or anything to elevate your hands here if you like, so that the chest stays lifted rather than dropping down will be helpful. Let's take the right leg and swing it up and back. And start to peel the right hip on top of the left, so the left hip draws in toward midline. Right hip peels open, right arm lifts. And then we're putting the cart before the horse. If we start to reach and expand before we've connected to the center, right? It all has to start from the inside and work its way out. And then as we do, we can expand from there. We can expand from that seed of strength at the center. And then we'll start to bend the right knee. Reach back with the right hand and find that Shavasana variation. So kick the foot into the hands, spread the toes. And allow the heart to move forward. We'll gently release. Extend out right arm, right leg. Start to bend in the left knee. So you come to a soft landing, warrior two. Stretch the arms out. Drop the left arm in front of the body and sway toward the back leg to come into reverse warrior. And then peel the left arm on top of the left ear and extend through that left side waist. Dial up through warrior two. Bend your right knee, shift into Skandasana, side lunge. Take the inner thighs back, sit deeply, power down into your feet. Then turn to face the front of the mat, shift the weight back into that left leg, come into your low lunge. Let's take the left leg up and back, three-leg dog. Roll the left hip on top of the right, bend the knee, and twist open. Left leg will straighten. We'll look underneath the right arm, and as the left hip rolls down, kick the left leg under the right arm and sit. Legs in a V. Take your right arm past your left leg and sweep all the way over to the right. Clench your right palm. Lean back, lift the hips. Drop the hips, sweep the left arm across the right leg all the way over to the left. And plant the hands at the top of the mat. Left leg tucks back through, three-leg dog. Open bend and stretch the left quads. Straighten the left leg, square off through your hips, look between the hands. Left foot steps forward for the lunge. Good. Start to transfer the weight straight down into the sole of the left foot. Crawl the fingertips forward so that the back body stays like a level plane. And then bend the right knee. Right hand will stay down on the mat or in front of the mat. Left hand reaches back. So we cross behind the body. And then pull the chest forward. Kick the foot back into the hands. So rather than revolving here, we're just going for that long line of energy, front of the mat to back of the mat, lengthening out through this twist. Good. Let's find a little balance, release. The leg, reach the left arm forward. And then hand and foot meet the mat. Drop into your hips. Sweep the arms up by the ears, chair pose. Drop heavily through the back of the pelvis. And take the arms back behind you, circle, circle, circle. Interlace your fingers, maybe other thumb on top this time. Squeeze the heels of the hands together. Pull the elbows toward one another behind you. And open through the chest. Take a breath in. And begin to bow, belly to the thighs. Jackknife the arms up overhead. And if you want to, start to lengthen through the hamstrings again. So lift up through the sits bones. To straighten the knees any amount. Keep the grip of the hands. Bend the knees again. Chair pose with that bind. Stretch the hands back behind you. Reverse the circle. Belly pulls in tightly to reach the arms up overhead. And then stand up tall, Urdhva Hastasana. Inhale here. And exhale, dive right down into a forward fold. Walk the hands out underneath your shoulders. Start to lift the left leg up behind you, peel open into Ardha Chandrasana. From your very center, like ripples in a pond, feel that energy start to ripple out until it's felt even in the soles of your feet. And bend your right knee, step your left leg to the back of the mat, Virabhadrasana 2. Sweep the right arm down in front of the body, float the chest back, a variation on reverse warrior. Warrior 2, take the right arm forward. Skandasana, bend the left knee, sink back. Low lunge, spin to the top of the mat, plant the palms. Right leg up and back, 3-leg dog. Open the hips, let the knee bend. Look underneath the left arm and slide that right leg through. Sit down on the hips. Upavishta Konasana, sweep left arm across. Rock star, plant the left palm, lift the hips, arc the spine. Sit back down. Sweep across with the right arm. Come back to the top of your mat. Use your left leg and then reach the right leg up and back behind you. Open, bend, and stretch. Straighten the right leg and square off through the hips. Step forward. Right leg forward, low lunge. Look ahead. And crawl the fingertips forward. Lift that back leg. Pause here. And then just drop the left foot to meet the right. Chair pose. Inhale. Sink down as you exhale. Inhale, stand up tall, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, we connect the flow, fold forward. Crawl the hands out underneath the chest, make a shelf. Sweep the right leg up behind you, and start to peel the right side body open. Ardha Chandrasana. Control the transition with the left leg. Step the right foot to the back of the mat, Vira 2. Sweep the left arm in front of the body and feel the right side body stretch back. Let the left side body meet that and mirror that. And then Warrior 2. Bend into your right knee, Skandasana, side lunge. Pivot to the front of the mat, let the left knee bend. Left leg goes up and back, 3-leg dog, and instantly we open the hips. Lengthen the front of that hip, the front of that quad. Look underneath the right arm and slide the left leg through. So you take a little half turn. Right arm sweeps across. Right hand plants, lift up. And drop the hips, the left arm sweeps across. Spin to the top of the mat, plant the palms. Curl those right toes under, lift the left leg up and back, open the hips. Straighten the left leg, square off. See the landing pad for the left foot and take it there. Walk the hands forward, let the back leg lift. Pause. And then right foot meets the left foot. Chair pose, inhale. Drop the shoulders and the hips as you exhale. And then inhale, stretch up top. And exhale, Tadasana. Final Tadasana with this practice. So absorb whatever is left here for you. We'll bring the hands together in front of the heart and just step the right leg back into a lunge. Just a crescent lunge, and it doesn't have to be your biggest, deepest crescent lunge. We'll just pause there for a moment of balance again. And then take the hands down to the mat. Left leg is going to go back like plank. And then we're going to take it underneath the right leg and start to roll the left side of the body down until we're lying on our left sides. Left arm long by your ear, or maybe supporting your head. And then one long line through the body. So look down the front plane of the body, down to the toes, and make sure you're not arcing like a banana or pitching at the hips. We're going to do that half moon pose on our sides. So right hip is stacked directly on top of the left. Right shoulder is stacked directly on top of the left. I'm going to externally rotate my right leg and point my right foot up toward the ceiling. So it's like I'm standing on the ceiling with this right foot, and my left leg is the one that would be floating in space behind me. So I need to be really active with that leg to keep me balanced here in this variation. And then right arm can reach up to, those would be the fingertips that are on the floor in front of your right toes in your Ardha Chandrasana half moon. And then feel for that feedback as the body rocks and wriggles. Purposely throwing ourselves off balance so that we can see things from a different point of view. Good. And then we'll roll down on our backs and keep that right leg lifted. So we're set up for Supta Padangusthasana, much more relaxing than half moon on your side. So reach for the back of that right leg. Maybe circle your ankle. This is another place where the hip wants to kind of roll up and compress the side waist. So it might be nice to get your thumb in that hip crease and manually push the head of the thigh bone and the hip crease away from you. And then we're going to bring the left leg up to meet the right leg. And instead of going into a plow pose and letting the hips roll up off of the mat, I want us to keep the hips down and treat this like we would. Stay where you are. I'm just going to show you Paschimottanasana, which is normally like this. It's really easy to round the back in Paschi, right? Here, we've got our backs forced into kind of a longer, straighter alignment. And so the legs, we might start to round in the lower back. See if you can push those sits bones that we've been talking a lot about forward and down. And do your fold that way. And your fold might feel and look a lot different than it does in its usual orientation. But extend out through the legs, spread through the toes, the arches, big toe mounds. It's almost like as you send attention and energy out to these obscure parts of the body, you welcome more feedback. So keep the legs straight if you want a little core challenge, and slowly lower the legs back down to the mat. Maybe you can do it to a 10 count. If that's too much on your back, bend your knees and put your feet down. Land. And then flip over, roll over your left side. Let's bring the hands alongside the chest. Do another cobra pose. Inhale, lift up. We'll move it right back to downward facing dog. With the exhale, shift the hips up and back. From our down dog, we'll take the right foot forward in between the hands and just mark the start of this sequence with that crescent lunge that we did on the other side. So hands at your heart. Moment of clarity and steadiness. And then hands come down alongside the front foot. Right leg this time, as it floats back, is going to go underneath the body, and we'll roll to that right side. And then right arm out alongside the ear and line up. So it's as though you could line up with an edge of your mat. The body's pretty straight, in one straight line. And hip stack, shoulder stack, belly pulls in tightly. Keeping that anchor point there is a key to stability. And so by externally rotating the thigh bone, the toes start to point up and forward rather than out to the side of the mat. Toes point up toward my ear. And so hugging into the core, feeling that contraction there in the belly can help me to balance and reach the left fingertips. So it's our half moon flipped over. Good. And then gently roll onto your back. With that left leg still up in front of the body, catch hold. For Supta Padangusthasana. Keep the back and the shoulders relaxed into the mat. Muscles in that left leg awake enough to support the joints so that you're not dropping into the pose and you're not forcing into the pose, that everything's collaborating to create the pose. You can bring the right leg up to meet the left. And if you're itching for a plow pose instead of this funky Supta Paschimottanasana, you can lift the hips up this time. Snuggle the shoulders together behind your back like we do for that bind of the hands. And as long as the hips are up, you don't need to feel that support of the hands. You can interlace them behind you or just support the low back. Another option is just to stay with that Paschimottanasana variation, really pushing your hips forward as you dial the feet back. Last few breaths of activity before we surrender to stillness. So if you are in plow and you have a bind to the hands, release that. Slowly roll a spine down onto the mat. Everybody will land with hips down. Easy, or maybe more chill way out is to bend the knees, put the feet down. If you want to do one more little core work action, then keep the legs straight, extend out through the feet. And slowly offer the legs forward to the mat. When they get there, separate the heels, separate the arms away from the sides of the body. And again, open all those points of reception. What is deeper listening? Sometimes to receive the messages that our own bodies and spirits are giving to us, we have to dial down the rest of the noise. Not just from the outside world, but from this inside world too. In that quiet space that we can truly hear, truly listen, better understand our own hearts. Stack our hands over heart center. Just take a moment to dedicate this practice to you, to yourself. Start to bend the knees and roll to your side. Come to sit. Thank you for sharing this space so that I may journey and you may journey, and we have the sense that we're doing it together. We're not alone. Thank you. Namaste. Thanks, Alexis. Thanks, Liz.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.